In this episode of Ask a Griffin, we talk about the 4 keys to a proper and thorough property evaluation. Hey, I'm Danny Griffin, and today I want to talk about the 4 keys to a proper property evaluation. That really means what? A thorough evaluation, not just a value. There are many things that go into the final market value of a property, and the first of which is you want to consider the public data. That's a very important part of this. If you look at major algorithmic approaches to value online that give you this instant magical value, well, that's simply what they're doing. They're pulling public data. In our case, we thoroughly look at anything we can measure current market value against. And one of the greatest pieces of public data is the assessed value. I know I'll get the big pushback, but that's not what the house is worth. And the assessor knows I have this, or they don't know I have that. I get it. I get it, but that is an excellent piece of data to begin to value the property. But you're right, it is not enough. In fact, any instant valuation tool that relies only on public data, which they all do if they're online and they're instant, has a variance up to plus or minus 20%. Think about that. 20%. You would never price your property for the market for sale if it was based on just public data. You want to get a more thorough evaluation and also see if you can consider some things that might be able to be improved. Now, number 2 is one of those things that can't be changed, but you must account for neighborhood location. Yes, I'm saying neighborhood location. I understand location, 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 but what does that even mean? That's just a general terminology or quip that we put out there and say, yes, the location is good or it's not good. But the key is we want to account for that location as we go through this evaluation. And what you can do typically is you could take a look at the radius around the property. What has sold? What are the conditions of those properties? Are there alternatives that are better than yours? So really that location matters. You could be in a beautiful neighborhood and back up to something that's not so desirable. So the specific location in the neighborhood is a massive piece of evaluating your true market value. Number 3 is you want to be realistic about the current market condition or the current condition of your property if you were to take it to market. In other words, are you really clean, buffed up, and ready to be marketed at an above average, at average, or below average conditional level? And that's really, I understand, it's in the eye of the beholder to a certain extent because condition is such a big barrel of monkeys if we open it up, because now you're talking about, should I do major projects? Shouldn't I? Well, for now, just assess where you truly are. And how do you do that? You're taking a look at some comparables in the neighborhood that just recently sold and saying, did they do these major upgrades? Were they just clean? Were they above, below, or at average condition? You want to consider that. Number 4 is you want to study the local market trends. In other words, what direction is the local market headed? Now, I cover both Boston, downtown Boston, and Cape Cod. So oftentimes, folks that are our clients own properties in both areas, and they assume that those local market trends are the same, and they couldn't be further apart. So you want to make sure you consider the immediate local market trends. What is really happening? Is it affected seasonally? What economic factors are affecting those trends? So again, let's summarize. These are the 4 keys to a proper and thorough property evaluation, not just the value that gets spit out. Now, the reason you want to go through this and protect this valuation or evaluation is because this is your asset. I bet you look at that 401k or that IRA account every single month to see what's going on, to protect the value of those assets, or at least be cognizant of where it's at. Well, what about your property? Right? A lot of people have more wealth in their property than they do in the stock market. So let's start paying attention to it. So it's okay to start by considering the public data. In fact, you must, because that's where the math begins. However, the adjustments are such that when you go to sell, what factors in the neighborhood are affecting your exact location, and where are you in that specific neighborhood that would positively or negatively affect you. Now, of course, there's nothing you're going to do about that. You're not going to pick your property up and move it. However, number 3 is something that can absolutely be focused on to protect market value for the day when you have to or want to sell. And that is to be realistic about where your condition is at today. Now, you don't want to wait until the very last minute to begin to recondition or take care of your property. It's a mistake, because typically that's when it costs you too much time, money, and aggravation, and you don't want to do it under that sort of pressure. So start now. Start now. So a proper evaluation for any property owner should be right now, whether you're looking to sell or not, for that big reason. You can get the proper suggestions on what projects to do and possibly not to do that will not positively affect the value. And of course, the last piece is study the local market trends on a regular basis. At least quarterly, be aware of whether the market is going up or down. Now, you hear a lot of opinions about that. Try to stick to the facts. Does it sound like you can get your hands on information that shows you specifically that prices in your immediate location and neighborhood are moving upward or downwards? You want to pay attention to sold. S-O-L-D is the only word that really matters when it comes to assessing what's going on around you, okay? So the final one, obviously, is the local market trend, because as you look at that whole thing, that really is where the market's at today, okay? So here we go. All these 4 points matter when it comes to evaluating your property. Hey, if you know somebody who would like this, please pass it along to them. It is the most singularly important concept to understand when it comes to protecting the value of your property, so that when it's time to sell it, you're not under the stress that everybody goes through when they leave all this to last minute. I'm Danny Griffin. Thank you, and do us a favor. You like these, share them along, will you please? Thanks.